In this podcast, we chat about the win against Birmingham, look ahead to Norwich, and answer your podcast questions. This is the Boro Breakdown podcast, and this is only Boro Matchday Chatter in a pod.
Support. Curtis Fleming is there on the edge of the area. Fleming for Craig Hignett. Hit it, Higgy. Higgy hits the treble!
Emmanuel coming alive again. Janino wants the ball played to him. Emmanuel spots out. Emerson!
Hello and welcome to the Boro Breakdown podcast with Johnny, Dana, and Tom. We're the Boro podcast that gives you all of your Boro Matchday Chatter in a podcast. And Middlesbrough have won 6 games in a row. Yes, we have. I can't believe it. I'm actually stunned. Where were we at the start of the season where it was all going wrong and, we've seen it was a disaster, and how funny football can change, isn't it? And now Middlesbrough come to 13th in the table with 2 points off the playoff places. And we're getting there slowly but surely. But guys, your key takeouts as always. Dana, another win yesterday. We left it a little bit late, but what was your key takeout from yesterday?
I think my key takeout from yesterday, it's not a thought that I'm 100% on yet, but I feel like Boro might just be approaching the most balanced version of themselves under Michael Carrick, because there's still improvements to be made, of course. I think we saw yesterday that there's maybe elements of our finishing that need to be improved, but I do feel like we're getting towards a team that are good going forward and good at the back as well. And we haven't really seen Boro be good at the back under Michael Carrick. So the fact that we have picked up 3 clean sheets in succession is really, really good. And I just want to see it a little bit more, because obviously coming off the back of the Birmingham game yesterday, in which I do think, if anything, to improve on, it's our finishing. But I do feel like we're getting there. We're getting to a really balanced, refined team. And if maybe next week I'm 100% on that, then I feel like that's very good for Boro going forward in their climb up the table. We were very gung-ho last season, very good offensively, but not so good defensively. I think if we just have that balanced team, keep an eye on us, because we could rise up the table some more.
Absolutely. And Tom, what's your key takeout from this week as well?
My key takeout is that kind of confident feeling around Boro is creeping back in at the moment after the recent form that we've had. I'm not going to lie, after the end of last season and the start of this season, it had kind of started to die away, and it was like, don't really know what we're going to get. And it was a lot different to the majority of last season, where we could go to the Riverside and be like, we're going to win today. It just depends kind of by how many. Or for away games, it was like, this is weird. I'm actually confident for an away game. With the form recently, and I think especially getting 3 clean sheets in the last 3 games as well, that is starting to creep back. And now it's like looking at it optimistically and thinking, like looking ahead to the calendar and think, we can beat them. Which at the start of the season, it was just like you couldn't kind of really see a way out of it. And obviously credit to Carrick, the coaching staff, and the players for kind of sticking with the plan and knowing that we were on the right tracks and getting through it.
Yeah, it does look like we are on the right track. I mean, the form is fantastic, and it's the last time we won 5 games in a row was, I think it was 2016, I want to say. So please someone fact check me on that, but I definitely think it was 2016 in the championship. And we are just looking really good at the moment, and I'm happy about it. I think my one key take up for me was probably our pressing is getting a lot better. I think that obviously if you look at like the data like in the PVDA, you kind of say, well, Boro actually, it was probably I think it was our second best start last year. I think it was like 6 passes until we won the ball back, which is our lowest second lowest this season. But I think overall, I think it was getting a bit more better and better each week. You can kind of see that was like Danny was saying there on being more balanced. Tom, I think like the confidence there on like the 3 clean sheets in a row, but also 4 and 5, and it's just slowly but surely coming together. And I'm really happy that it is, and Boro fans are really happy. You can feel that confidence, and just I know I said to you guys and yesterday, but I feel like I love this team more than I probably have in a long time. I think it's just like, I don't know what it is. I just feel like there's just a bit of a decent connection now. I feel more confident with this team than I have maybe on like Crank, where Crank, if I knew we were going 1-0 down, we wouldn't have a chance. Whereas this one, I'm just like, even if we do go 1-0 down, I'm like, oh, we probably will get something here. And it's just really nice to see. But let's talk about Birmingham, because it took us to the 88th minute to get that winner with Morgan Rogers, a little toe poke over John Ruddy to seal Boro's win. But then, what was your overall assessment? Because we had a lot of chances, just didn't seem to be our day, and we finally found a way.
Yeah, it was a funny game to summarise actually, because I think in some aspects Boro were good, but then poor in others. For example, we created chances, we dominated possession, and I think because of that, we were relatively untroubled defensively. In fact, Birmingham's XG was only 0.25, which is the lowest recorded XG of any championship team this weekend. But we only had one goal to show for the good aspects of our performance. So I think if you're looking at an improvement from one game to another, looking at the Norwich match, you're probably looking at our finishing and in part our delivery of balls in behind, because it was a bit delayed at times, which resulted in a lot of offside, which was kind of frustrating. But even despite that frustration in the second half that I had towards our final ball and probably our quality within that, was I genuinely believe that we were going to break through at some point. I mean, did I expect it to be that late? No. But when that went in, honestly, it's rare to see scenes in the East Stand, but there were scenes in the East Stand. So much so I've lost my lip balm, which is like, people say, well, it's only lip balm, but I am an incredibly dry human being. I'm like SpongeBob and Patrick locked in Sandy's dome, and I'm very sad that I don't have a lip balm. So it's probably somewhere, I don't even know where it went. They probably yeeted off into the West Stand for all I know. But it was very, very good to have that moment. And I feel like because there was a slight prickly part of the game, they were like, I looked to my left and there were fights breaking out in like between the away fans and the home fans, obviously separated, of course. And there was a bit of an edge to the game, I think, because of that. And I think it was that release of the frustration that was built up in that game that was so, so sweet. And Boro deserved it. You know, their dominance in that second half, it was incredible, really. The possession that we had and the territory, the chances that we created, the amount of times that Jones was on that right hand side was incredible. How Birmingham were giving us that amount of space was insane. But it was coming, and I'm so, so glad that in the end we got that goal, because I think previously we wouldn't have, and it would have fizzled out, and we would have been looking at a 0-0 draw. So another big character test passed there for Boro, that we just stuck with our game and we managed to get that goal in the end. It was brilliant.
Yeah, it was, and for me, it was a very chaotic game. I felt as well. That first half, where it was a little bit end to end, but there was quite a lot of turnovers in possession. There was a lot of space, but also Boro really occupied that really, really well. I was a huge fan of Dan Barlaser in that first half. I thought he has no right to be that good and more comfortable on the ball and being able to spray a ball left to right. And the more I see Dan Barlaser, the more I just get impressed by him, and I really enjoy him as a footballer. So it's just nice to see him do well at the moment. And yeah, Boro were creating chances. We were getting the rub of the green. That second half as well, I thought, when all the subs started to happen, it felt like, this game could go a little bit flat. And, when you make too many changes, things don't really work out, but they did. And obviously Rogers scored. But Tom, like we did create a lot of chances yesterday. And sometimes it doesn't always go your way, but we did find a way in the end. But how big of a result is that for Boro? Because given the amount of chances we had, sometimes, like Daniel mentioned there, you don't always find a way, but Boro did. So how big of a result was that for Boro?
I think it could be quite big in terms of the confidence that the players can take from that game. It seemed frustrating for the entire game. I think I summed it up to one of my mates as kind of a stubborn performance from Birmingham, because for the most of the game it looked like it was only going to go one way, but they were just kind of like still hanging on and getting up the other end occasionally. And I mean, they did look good on the ball, especially when Dembele had it. So when he got taken off, I was, thank God for that. It's Oliver Burke coming on. But I thought Ruddy had an absolutely fantastic game for them. I always kind of rate him as a keeper in this league. Not so much, when he's kind of got up to the Premier League, but for this league, he is a top quality keeper, and he obviously kept them in the game quite often. But the fact that we were kind of able to keep going, keep hammering at the door, and eventually get that winner late on, that just goes to show kind of like what we're doing's working, and it will work if you kind of continue to play that way. I think if we'd have drawn that 0-0 going into Tuesday, there might have been. I don't even want to say there'd be a knock in confidence, because I think Carrick has been quite good in managing that and kind of setting a kind of philosophy in the team to just kind of think about the next match and like forget about the last one. But it is possible that after that you think, well, we created so many chances but we couldn't score. Like what's going on? Is it going to happen again? But the fact that we eventually did get the winner can put that to rest. It could have easily been about 3 or 4 if not for John Ruddy, and they can take the confidence from that game and take it onto Tuesday.
On that, and also we've seen it over the years where I think, especially under Crank, where we'd see a goalkeeper have a worldie every single week, and he couldn't find a way. But last year though, we were able to blow teams away in the strike force that we had. All the goal contributions we had from Giles and Akpom and Archer and Ramsey, like those 66 goals. And yesterday though, we had 14 shots in the box. We missed 2 really big chances, and yeah, obviously we just found a way. But the comparison I want to make here, Tom, is that like last year we were really good going forward. We were always finishing the chances that we had. Our conversion rate was amazing. But this year it doesn't seem that we're as clinical. So is that a little bit of a worry for you, maybe, as we look a little bit further ahead in the season, that we're not as clinical in front of goal than we have been previously?
I wouldn't say it's a worry just now, but it is kind of like in the back of my head. Obviously, we're on unbelievable form at the moment, so whatever we're doing is working. I will say I didn't think Coburn had a good game yesterday. I'm not going to be one of these people who was like on the tees phoning after the match going, he's not good enough for the championship, kind of like basing him on that one game. Like, he's done well in other games, judging on his link-up play, and obviously he got the goal against Watford. I don't think it's necessarily like a problem with him over the course of the last few games. But I think the thing is, for me, neither Coburn or Lath at the moment are as clinical as Akpom and Archer were last season. So in terms of replicating that conversion rate, at the moment, I don't think they're the guys to do it. It's good that it's being shared around the rest of the team, and Rodgers is chipping in with a goal. McGree's obviously been banging him in when he's been playing. It's good that we've kind of shared that responsibility out. I'm hoping that as soon as Lath's up to speed and is kind of fully settled and gets a run of games in the team, that we maybe can kind of coach that composure and the goal scoring into him. I mean, he's clearly good at it from what he's done at previous clubs. It just seems at the moment he's got all the attributes, but he'll get himself into the position and like as we saw against QPR, like miss 5 1-on-1s and stuff. And Coburn might have these games. He's still a young striker. He's not the finished article yet. So unlike last year, where we've got a player in Cameron Archer who went for, what was it, to Sheffield United, like 20 million or something, and Shuba Akpom, who's obviously went to Ajax for 12. These players aren't the finished article yet, and it's going to require sharing it around the team a lot more to push forward and kind of continue to be clinical. But then at the same time, if we're now starting to keep clean sheets, which is something we couldn't really do last season, then that might help balance it out.
Absolutely. And I think on Josh Coburn, it's an interesting one, Dana. I think last year we've had a statistical anomaly in Chuba Akpom, scoring 29 goals. Normally, if you're looking at data from a longer piece, you'd go, well, I'd probably discount that because that's just a one-off. But obviously, recency bias in football is definitely a thing. And Coburn's leading the line. He's led the line for the last few games now, and yesterday. He might have been a little bit off than what we have seen previously. But what was your thoughts on his performance yesterday, and what's your thoughts on him leading the line over the last few games?
Well, I thought he was poor yesterday. His touch just evaded him. I think his hold-up play, he struggled within that. But the thing is with Coburn is he is a talented young player, and I think emphasis on both of those descriptions there, talented and young. I think with that talent, a young player will sometimes struggle to really show that because they're young. You know, he is a very raw player. And in regards to the conversation around is he good enough to start for a championship club? Well, Stephen Schumacher at Plymouth obviously deemed him ready because he was all set to go to Plymouth. I think it's an interesting one with Coburn though, because I think it's pretty obvious he would not be here if Boro brought in a striker. They were gunning for Tom Cannon, didn't get him, and then obviously things switched, and all of a sudden Boro pulled the plug on that loan deal. I've always said about Coburn, whenever the question's been asked on this pod of like, should he be a part of the team or should he go out on loan? I've always maintained the belief that he should go out on loan. I reckon things might change in January. I know Carrick came out recently and said that he's happy with his options up front. I think it's clever from Carrick to give confidence to Coburn and Latte, but I think in the back of his mind, he won't be. I think he'll be looking at probably another striker to bring in, not just for like quality, but for numbers as well. So I think that will probably change. For now, he's leading the line, and unfortunately, you're going to get these performances where, okay, his finishing isn't particularly great. I still do think he is a good finisher, although based off that showing yesterday, maybe not so hot on that at the moment. But he is a talented player. He just needs that trust, I think. And I think it's incredibly unfair for fans to fully write him off. He probably is good enough to start for a championship team, but I think there are obviously levels within this division. Hence, maybe why it was Plymouth that he was looking to go on loan to, who are a good team in their own right, but I feel like they'll be a bottom half team, whereas I feel like just based off wanting to improve off last season, Boro will have aspirations and ambitions to get into the playoffs. So, yeah, maybe that as Boro's level increases, maybe we'll start to see Coburn struggle a little bit just to match that. But I like him, and I want to see him. I want to see the confidence remain within him, and hopefully he will gain that or regain that if in fact he's lost it against Norwich, because they have two very slow and quite frankly poor centre backs.
I just want to hear your thoughts on the knee-jerk reactions there, to be honest. I know because you were on the BBC Tees phone yesterday, as per usual. And you know, naturally in the stands as well, there's always a frustration. For me yesterday, I was saying to Matt and I was saying to Tom Muldowney as well. We have a nice little Boro breakdown corner now in the North Stand. It's lovely, and I was just saying I would have probably took him off at half time yesterday because I thought we had a lot of chances there to really break the deadlock. I thought he could have done better with a header. I thought he should have really broke the net with a 1-on-1, and it just wasn't his day yesterday. But the bigger picture of it, he's still very young, and also he's still a potential talent. And sometimes I feel like data doesn't really help him. I think because I see a lot of him sometimes when you watch him off the ball, he's just a bit of a havoc for the defenders. You know, he's just a big kid, and also just like he's horrible in terms of he'll stand on your feet, he'll make things a little bit difficult for you. He'll stand offside, make it a little bit confusing for the defenders, and his link-up play from time to time is good, but one bad performance in football creates a very strong emotion. But what were your thoughts on it yesterday, then? Obviously, hearing that he wasn't ready and not up to scratch for Middlesbrough this season.
Yeah, I think football discourse has a big problem with sensationalism. Like I said on Tees yesterday that he was poor today, but he's not a poor player, full stop. And I'll echo that on this. I think Coburn is a good player. He's shown it in not only in the youth levels, but he's shown it stepping up to men's football as well with that loan spell at Bristol Rovers. I think what we saw from afar in that is that he started really well and he just petered out. And I feel like that probably epitomizes a young player, really. I think he is a good player and he will have a good career ahead of him. I just think that he was poor yesterday, and that's all it is for me. But football fans are very emotional, aren't they? And sometimes quite irrational, and they can't really separate that emotion from their opinion. But I like Coburn. I just thought he was poor yesterday, and that really is where it kind of ends for me.
Yeah, fair. And Tom, like, would you obviously I want to hear your thoughts on the knee-jerk reactions, but also would you like to see Lath come back into the fold now against Norwich and all those two slow centre halves, which Norwich have? Lath just seems to have speed for days. So would you like to see Lath come back in, and also like just thoughts on Coburn as well?
I think it would be a good time to bring him in. I think that match suits him. His performance when he's came off the bench in the last couple of games has been good. I think he's deserving of it. And I think that's why you have the squad as well. Carrick was saying in his interview yesterday, like players who were on the bench will come in and play a part in other games and stuff like that. I think that's why you have the squad. So rotate it for Tuesday. Again, this is not me saying Coburn's not good enough and should be taken out the squad altogether and stuff like that. It suits Latte. Coburn didn't have a good game yesterday. Lath's done well off the bench the last couple of games. He's earned that chance in my opinion. In terms of the knee-jerk reactions as well, I'd absolutely agree with Dana, and that football really does have a problem with that. The amount of conversations I have with people when like Boro are on bad form and they're like, "Oh, our squad's like bottom half and like we've built like a relegation squad and stuff." Like, well, hang on, we look where we were last season. Like, these players don't become bad overnight. Like, people can have a bad game, and that's all it was for me yesterday for Coburn. Is he's had a bad game. Lath's had 2 good games off the bench. That's why it should be a change on Tuesday. But there's going to be other games, I'm sure, where Coburn will come off the bench and have a cracking game and probably earn his place back. And again, that's why I have the squad. That's why I have 2 strikers battling out for that one position, really.
Yeah, you want to have options, Don, don't you? And if we can have one more striker, then that'd be absolutely perfect if we can do that. But yeah, I would like to see Lath come back in as well. I thought he just caused a lot of havoc yesterday. I really enjoy him. I just think when I watch him, I was going, you honestly have probably the most weird strength I think I've ever seen. You're able to like knock like people who are 6'3", 6'4" off the ball with just ease. Your ability to run at players is really good. Just hopefully you can just nail that finishing, because he has everything there to be a really good signing for us this season and the next couple of seasons as well. But it wasn't him that got the winner. He did very, very well though, like Lath, to bring the ball forward. Lays it off to Rodgers. Rodgers plays a horrendous ball to Crooks, and Crooks, helped us again. And Rodgers just put it back in the back of the net. But Dana, how did you feel when Rodgers put Boro ahead in so late in the game? Because the stadium it erupted when Rodgers scored.
It did. I had a flashing glance over to the north stand, and honestly, the limbs were insane. I mean, we all love a late winner, don't we? And it was weird because there were a few points in that move where I thought it had kind of gone from us, like it fizzled out. Lath does well initially, and then I think it might have been Sanderson pokes the ball away from him. It's then the on-rushing Rodgers that comes back onto it, and then that ball, he said himself in the interview afterwards, is probably the worst ball he's played. And then even after that, when Crooks manages to hook the ball back in, I thought Ruddy's got that. Like, he's going to collect that, smother it, end of move. So that tiny little toe poke at that very near post, brilliant. Just absolutely brilliant. And I don't know if you've seen, there's a video of the celebrations. Some guy runs onto the pitch, right? Paddy McNair just pushes him. And he's like, no. Honestly, I'll have to link it to you. But yeah, there's a shot where Paddy McNair like literally just pushes someone back off the pitch because he's ran onto it.
I saw it in real time. He actually he didn't go straight off the pitch. He tried to get in the way of Tom Banks, the photographer, and he pushed him as well.
Oh God, Shithouse Island. Tom Banks, Paddy McNair, Shithouse Island.
Shithousery.
Because you're in the north.
Yeah, it's true.
In fact, I missed it at the time, to be fair, so I can't talk. But yeah, that happened. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say the limbs in the north stand were brilliant. Me, Living, and Matt were just couldn't. We were just like jumping up, down, hugging. We like nearly fell over. The row in front of us, and it was brilliant. Absolutely loved that
Dave
goal. And
went
Tom,
off it as well. He
yeah,
made a point of letting me know afterwards because I wish I had a Dave cam just to see how he celebrates goals. But he went, I actually jumped up. He said, and I gave him a hug. I don't usually give my dad a hug. We give each other a high five after every Boro goal. We gave him a hug. I don't know why. Just felt quite like notable that late goal. Like we've obviously enjoyed late goals, but there's just something about that one in particular that just felt. I think because of the emotion during the game, it felt particularly sweet.
Yeah, Tom, how was it for you as well? See, when Rogers put in the back of the net, I'm assuming you stood there and nearly cried with sheer joy.
Nearly lost my voice from shouting "F and get in," but yeah, that was about it. It was just such a sense of relief that we'd finally got that goal, and I would say relief probably played into Morgan Rogers' celebrations as well. Just after that first pass that he played, it was probably like, thank God Crooks managed to hook that one back in.
Yeah, definitely. Well, speaking of Crooks, then he's propping up again. Another goal contribution. Why is he being so effective in this role? He always seems like he just crops up and just just gets a really good chance or scores for Boro in those key moments. So how is he so effective in that?
Yeah, it's called Clutch, Johnny, Clutch Crooks. But I think it's just because he's just such a good team player, and I think he's got a very good understanding and awareness of his teammates and of their runs. Quite often you'll see him try to slip Isaiah Jones down the line or try to combine with him in somewhere. And I think Boro are really reaping the benefits of previous coaching of that. Sorry to give Chris Wilder a lick of credit, but we've obviously gone back to seeing that little connection between them two, and it works. It worked back then and it's working again now because Crooks is basically the cornerstone of that. He's just got such a good link up with Jones and other teammates as well. He's very unselfish. He had that one moment yesterday where he just delayed on the ball on the counter and then the move fizzled out. And that's probably the only thing that he did wrong, really, that was of massive note. But I absolutely love him. I think he's like, honestly, I am getting close to, like, with Crooks, like kind of George Friend territory. Like, I'm going to create a fan page for him tomorrow, I think. Call it Crooks Army 25 or something. But I absolutely love him. And he honestly just comes up with the goods quite consistently. And he did that again yesterday. And thank God for those long legs of his to hook that back in. And it was brilliant. He's just a fantastic player, Crooks. Very, very important and very effective in this team.
Yeah, you've heard it here first. Everything MFC is coming back. It's coming back. It's coming back. Bringing it back. But in terms of obviously that we're talking about like, the final thing now, and just on Birmingham, Tom. I kind of want to hear your thoughts on them as well. Obviously lost XG yesterday. Obviously new manager and Wayne Rooney in charge as well. Did you have any like thoughts on how they were playing yesterday? Because it felt to me that they were a little bit lost.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know what to expect from them this season. Obviously, all I had to kind of go off was what Gab told us on the last show. I've not really watched a lot of the Championship while we've been on poor form because I just won't watch the AFL highlight show if while that's going on. It surprised me that they were so far up the table because they never usually are, and that probably says a lot for the fantastic away following that I thought they had yesterday as well. Because I've never noticed Birmingham bringing a lot of fans to the Riverside, so that probably says a lot about what they've been like in recent seasons and their previous ownership and stuff. In terms of the actual team performance, I thought they looked all right in flashes. Obviously, they didn't really create much, but Dembele was a standout player for them, along with John Ruddy yesterday. One thing I did kind of note myself was that they seemed to be kind of quite aggressive in chasing the ball down, and the fans were really kind of encouraging them for that. There was one point where I can't remember who it was, might have been Greenwood on the left-hand side in the first half, and like one of them made a slide tackle that didn't need to, a bit over the top, and like cleared out for a corner, and obviously got like a big round of applause from the Birmingham fans. Obviously, Rooney's been brought in with that whole no fear football target. it seems like that might have been what they were trying to do. I don't know if they've pressed that aggressively in previous games and had the crowd on the side that much in previous games, but that was probably about the extent of the positives I can give them. I think a lot of their fans acknowledged on Twitter afterwards that they were extremely poor. And like I said earlier, it only looked like the game was going to go one way, and if not for John Ruddy, that could have been by quite a few. I'd have been interested to see what their play style would have been like if we had managed to get 2 or 3, because would they have crumbled or would they have kind of kept on with Rooney's plan? But it seemed a bit of a confusing decision to get rid of Eustace, and it seems even more confusing now after yesterday. And obviously Rooney's trying to get him to learn a new play style.
Yeah, Dale, what's your thoughts on Birmingham as well? I'm keen to kind of bring you in on this one.
Yeah, I was really disappointed with them, to be fair. I was asked by Football League World in the build-up to the game to give a player or two that I was most wary of. And I actually said Miyoshi, who came off the bench, he didn't start the game, and he previously has been, because they've played with that number 10 and really switched it to a 4-3-3, and I just don't think it worked. Like, their threat was reduced to Sariki Dembele, and that was it. And I will say that when he was dribbling at Dale Fry, I was kind of fearful, but they were overrun in midfield. They basically offered nothing, and Stansfield up front, who's probably been in really good form for them, was pretty much anonymous. So yeah, I was disappointed with Birmingham, but yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it, that they obviously parted company with John Eustace that got them into a really good feeling, a good position. I don't think Rooney is a particularly good manager. I think his name precedes his managerial ability, so it'll be interesting to see really how they develop under him, if they do. But it was probably a good time to play them, to be honest, just given that changing system and newness, really.
Yeah, definitely. And I think on them yesterday, I just wasn't particularly impressed. I could see what they were trying to do on the break and get Middlesbrough on the counter, especially from corner kicks, which I thought was very interesting. Leave 3 players up and try and get the ball out to
You probably
the
knew how
wingers
shit we were from set pieces.
Yeah, but the interesting thing was they were doing that, and then Middlesbrough were picking off that pass from Ruddy straight away, because they knew what they were going to do. We outnumbered them anyway from a 40-3, and by the time that they released the ball up to everyone was running out, and then Middlesbrough won the ball again, so they're completely out of shape, and it felt a little bit chaotic. And then there was like, well, you've kind of just, I don't know, I just didn't feel right for that, but they were trying to do different things. In terms of trying to get the ball out wide, try to feed Dembele, and it just, for me, just didn't really work yesterday. And I also thought, why is Gardner playing? I thought he'd retired about 10 years ago.
Same.
And I was like, why is he? Go on, Tom.
I was going to say, I feel like Birmingham always have a Gardner playing for them. Like, I think it's
Yeah.
just a Birmingham tradition, because I don't even know if this is the same Gardner who was playing there like 10 years ago. But like you say, he's been there forever.
Which one was it? It was Gary, right?
Yes.
Craig's the one that's retired. Yeah.
And I thought, well, I thought he was tired, but here we are. But yeah, Miyoshi as well. Then, like, he was at Antwerp last year, and he was so good. I really enjoyed him, and I couldn't believe they got him on I think it was a free. I think they got him on as well, of all things. And I was like, wow, what a great signing. And then he got done by Dale Fry, and I was like, oh wow, that's quite embarrassing. But here we are. But let's move on. Let's move on to podcast questions now. Yes, podcast questions. Every week you get the chance to send us a question by tweeting us at Boro_breakdown, email us at theboroBreakdown@hotmail.com, or by joining our Telegram chat with 360 Boro fans, chatting everything but Boro. And if you're in that group chat this morning, you would have seen We've Got Options Dawn t-shirt, which I do have on, but I actually decided to put a hoodie on because I was actually getting quite cold. So here I am. But the first question to this from Jonathan, he says, the way Carrick has dealt with Lath, Rogers, Coburn, Balassa, Rav, Engel, and now Jones led us through Boro's bad patch. Is getting clean sheets and goes back to winning ways. Does it show he has the credentials to be a top manager? Who wants this one? Dana, you can have this one. Do you think he has the credentials to be a top manager?
I don't really know. But then I thought about this. I was like, I don't really have an argument against it, to be honest. I think the way that he is as a manager, how he deals with like the press, for example, he's very, very measured. And I think that is a really good point of note with him. His winning percentage with Middlesbrough is actually 54.17, which is absolutely fantastic, really. And he's negotiated through a really rough patch and he's seen the other side of it. And I think that really rough patch in which Boro had poor form, I think has really shown that Carrick actually is a good manager beyond all doubt, because he's obviously saw the other side of it and Boro's form has turned to good again. So yeah, I think he could well be. It's easy to say that with managers that previously had fantastic careers as a footballer, but I kind of am of the answer of why not, really.
Yeah, and I think with managers as well, it's like you're only as good as the team you have, and also the staff around you as well, and how a club is. It's all very contextual, isn't it? And but like from what we've seen, though, like I said, he's been able to refine things, he's changed things, and he's not been afraid to go back to what's working. I think, which is really good as well. So definitely has all the credentials, I think, as well. But it's just a case of let's give him more time. He hasn't even been at Middlesbrough for a year yet. So there's still a long, long way to go for Michael Carrick. But, really impressed with him, and his team around him has been fantastic as well. But the next question is from Keith. He says, what have we been doing better defensively to keep 3 consecutive clean sheets? Obviously, it's bought 4 and 5. But Tom, obviously, we talk a lot about refinements and the 1% differences and trying to make an improvement. Obviously, a lot of it sometimes is subject to players and what their decision making is. But what do you think we've been doing better defensively to try and help us, make those margins from last year?
To me, there's a couple of things I've noticed, and I don't know if one of you wants to kind of weigh in on this as well, but it seems like we're defending narrower at times and kind of pushing teams more to the outside and forcing them across. I think especially in the last couple of games, especially Sunderland, where I'd said their main threat seemed to be running at our defence, yet they were trying to like whip balls in and they're all going to Dale Fry's head. It did seem like that at times yesterday as well. Like as soon as teams get to a crossing position, our centre back seem on top of it. Or there was a point when Dembele had it, and Fry had to go out to cover. Smith ran in behind to cover. And like block any potential cross. It does seem a little bit more organised in that respect. And also, I think from a perspective playing out from the back, when we win the ball, like outside our own penalty area, for example, it seems like Hackney and Barlas are dropping a little bit deeper to give options to play it out, and we seem to be a little bit calmer in doing so. The example I have from yesterday was Lucas Engel winning the ball at the left-hand side of our box. And then in front of him, he obviously had Greenwood who dropped back, but then also Hackney in the space and Barlassen not far away from Hackney as well. I believe we did get out of danger from that position. So I don't know if that's maybe a tactical thing we've worked on as well, in terms of people dropping back and giving options, but maybe that's helping rather than attempting a clearance, it going straight to their players and then just kind of coming straight back on us. Now we've got options on to play out from the back.
Dawn. It's yeah, I agree with a lot of that, Tom. I think the narrowness is obviously when you are being a defensive unit, you want to be narrow and you want to try and block your own goal. I think the more expensive you add, the more holes you have in behind and within the team, people can play through you. I think possession wise, we're a lot better. I think we're with Balassa and Hackney. It felt like we were picking all the right passes yesterday, and obviously, if you're better on the ball, most of the time you kind of limit the ability for a team to try and counter you. Transition wise, we can always be a bit suspect, but that comes with every single team. They always have some sort of defensive weakness. But also, like they were saying, like last week on the pod, like our shape's a little bit different from probably previous year, where last year was a 3-2-5. This year, I noticed a lot yesterday that Tommy Smith was coming in central and trying to fill up those gaps where we had previously. I think that's been really helpful as well. But also, Sonny Dieng's been good too, and we're just not given. And I think finally, we're just not given many chances away this year. I think the chances we've given away in the early games have been mainly from mistakes, and I haven't really seen us being cut open too much just yet. But touch wood, obviously that doesn't happen much more. But the final question is from Josh, and he says, "Where does the burgundy sweater rank in Carrick's outfits?" Now that is a lovely burgundy sweater, and you can see Rooney looking on and sheer jealous and disgusted. The envy. He's saying, "I wish I could look good in a burgundy sweater." And Tom, what do you think? Where do you think this outfit ranks for Michael Carrick?
Well, it was a new one, wasn't it? And 100% win rate now. So I think you don't change your winning team and you don't change your winning jumper. I think that needs to make an appearance at Norwich.
Yeah, absolutely. Big fan of Carrick's outfits. This needs to be a staple of what's to come across Boro Twitter and social media. And obviously, the analysis I think we spoke about last week is absolutely fantastic. I really, really enjoy that, and we need more of it. We need more of it, guys. That's my plea to Boro fans to keep focusing on these things. But let's move on. Shithouse Island we spoke about last week. I just wanted to address the elephant in the room because I know people will be tuning in saying, "Johnny, Marcus Forss, is he in or is he out?" Look, we've thought long and hard on this, and we put a poll up yesterday. It was a very not more popular poll of what we normally have. So it's quite difficult to assume. It was very tight, of course. It was very tight for us as well in the podcast mode. But where do we stand with this right now? I feel like the fans need a decision today. So what are we doing with Marcus Forss? Is he in or is he out, Dana? What do you think?
Well, I think I made my opinion clear on the Sunderland one. He is not in, which is a shame because I did quite like the idea that Tom mentioned of putting him in the sun in the Teletubbies sun. But I just don't. We need the context of it. Like if someone could let us know what Marcus Forss's intention was with that, because I'm not convinced it was towards the Sunderland fans, which would change it, I think. So not in Shithouse Island yet, but there is time for him to get in there.
Okay, so Marcus, if you are listening or you're watching us on YouTube, just we'll reach out in the next 24 hours and we'll ask the question. But we can only do what we can, But the standard's very high this season on Shithouse Island, and we want you can't just join. It's just I know memberships are free and they're just all the drinks, but it's just it's the standards. It's the standard. But there was a bit of I'd say shithousery yesterday actually at half time because David Wheater took a penalty and then went on to celebrate. And we're going to come into Kneeslide Club now. But David Wheater, you are an absolute shithouse for scoring against an 8-year-old and celebrating.
It's a good Kneeslide though, to be fair. Like he gives it some welly, doesn't he? As soon as he did it, I was like, yeah, that's Kneeslide Club. And it's the conviction of it. It's the arms out. It's the skidded jeans, probably. He actually said, we asked him if his jeans are okay. And he said that, yeah, because he went to the World Buffet or whatever it was in the Cleveland Center wearing them. So, yeah, it's a very, very good one. You know what, for David Wheater's Kneeslide, I think you give that a 10. I think he's absolutely knocked that out of the park, to be fair to him.
Oh, Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a 10.
Has to be.
The fact that he's done it in jeans, I'd have maybe said like -1 for the fact that he's just scored past an 8-year-old, but then also like +1 for doing that Kneeslide in jeans and having that commitment. So yeah, I think it's got to be a 10.
Yeah, there's a moment in it, Dana, if you don't mind sharing it. It's just he scores the penalty and you go, yep, he scored against an 8-year-old, but he runs there. It's just the split second where he goes
and he nearly
in
takes
the
Tom
air.
Banks out.
Yeah, he's in the air. He's ready for that knee slide, and it's just a lovely glide across the pitch, over the line, and into the fans as well. And you could definitely see that the groundsman absolutely fuming. So absolute shithouse you are doing. But I absolutely love that from you. It was brilliant. But let's move on now to the praising place. Hello and welcome to the Praising Place. The Praising Place is the place where to give praise to a player, staff member, David Wheater's Kneeslide, and so much more. I was very excited by the Praising Place this week because there's so much to praise in the world of Middlesbrough right now. But Dana, I'll let you go first on this one. Who is in your place in the Praising Place this week?
I'm going to go with Paddy McNair because it was mentioned on Tees yesterday. I've wanted to praise Paddy McNair since the Bradford game, but I think there was too many people to praise that he just unfortunately missed out. But I think Paddy McNair's flown well under the radar in recent games, and he's weirdly gone from being a genuine fan favourite, someone that a lot of the fans really like, to being a scapegoat. And I feel like that's kind of unfair, to be honest. Like, obviously, there's there's criticism of him, and it's a lot of the time it is quite fair, but it always seems to be pick at Paddy. But I quite liked his performance yesterday. There was a moment in particular where I think it was Bielik had a shot and it stung the palms of Senny de Jong, who kind of parried it out. And then Paddy McNair was there like a flash to kind of to clear it away. And I quite like to praise Paddy because a lot of the time he does get stick, and I quite like praising players that get stick. So I'm going to put him in there. And then I have to mention this because I promised I would put him in there. Got to put Tom's dad in there because last week my laptop crumbled a bit like Sunderland did, and it came off the hinge, and he was on it and he fixed it. So I have to put Jace in the praising place. If you do want any mechanical repairs on your laptops technologically, so God, I worded that horrifically, go to Jace. I am unfortunate to report, though, that my laptop lid with all the stickers on it is gone, so I'm going to hold a vigil for this. But my laptop's intact, so that's great. And if ever your laptop's going to break, do it during the international break. So, yeah, Jace. Paddy McNair and Jace are in the praising place this week.
Nice. Do you want to put your dad in there as well, Tom?
Yeah, may as well. He's done a good thing for this podcast, and like Leonard's just said, if anyone has any mechanical issues with their laptop, go to me dad at RepairWise.
There you go. Anyway, yours £50 now, Jess. What? Who said that? Who said that? Tom, but seriously, who was in your praising place this week?
I'm going to go in the midfield too for my praising place this week. For another week in a row, Dan Barlas has been doing well. Improving his game. Like I said, right at the start of the season, for me, it was the progressing the ball and ball carrying, which was the weakness in his game. But then since he's came back into the team and taken his chance, it hasn't been. He's been doing much better at that and deserves the starting place in the team at the moment. And Hayden Hackney is probably going to be in there all season for how much I'm just enjoying watching him at the moment, because... And I'm pretty sure I said this last week as well. He looks better every game, and yesterday was no exception. It was such a good performance from him.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And for me, I was saying earlier in the show, I just love Dan Barlas as a footballer. I think he's just amazing. I hope he keeps getting better and better, because I just feel like bringing him in was just fantastic. And there was a moment yesterday where de Jong played the ball out to him, and he just let the ball come across him and just turn the defender, and it was just stunning. Absolutely stunning. But for me, I think there was a moment in the game which goes into my praising place this week, and it was from Senny de Jong. And McNair plays the ball back to him, and he just looks up, gets the ball at his feet, and then just pings it about 30-40 yards to Isaiah Jones. And Jones's touch is actually bang on as well. And obviously it doesn't really come to much, but the ball was just superb. And Senny de Jong, for me, like, his distribution is absolutely fantastic, and it needs to be praised again. And also I want to praise my boy Lucas Engel. He's getting better and better each week. I mean, he did try to headbutt someone stupidly, and I was like, for goodness sake, Lucas, what are you doing? But again, confidence improving each week, and I thought he was going to score an absolute rocket for the second game in a row, and it's going to happen, and has no right to score from there. But it's so well to keep the ball down, and he had no right, and yes, he didn't, but it's happening. It's going to happen, and I think just finally, I think there's obviously going to be praise across the team, but I just want to give a shout out to Morgan Rogers as well. Scoring his first league goal for us at the Riverside as well, and you could sense it meant a lot to him, and it's always nice to kind of see someone come on and do well. And we have got a really young squad, and it's just nice to see these players come on. And I kind of felt like yesterday that I was in a bit of a Football Manager save when I was like looking across the benches, and there's like Rooney, there's Carrick, there's Woodgate, there's obviously Mike Taylor, the goalkeeper, if people can remember him. Ashley Cole as well. What a five-side team. And John O'Shea as well. Like, what a five-side team that could be. I just felt like I just kind of just like dropped myself into a Football Manager save. But it was just very odd. I don't know. I I feel like am I getting to an age now where this is the norm? But yeah,
That's what
I
I was
always remember
thinking,
seeing
yeah.
all those players growing up, and you idolise them and all the coaches. It's just amazing to see. But let's move on now. Let's talk about Norwich, and it's my favourite part of the show. It's the part of the show where I call this is trivia time. So that's catchy. But my trivia question for this week is, and if you're at home, you're in the car, you're watching this or walking the dogs, whatever, it's time to put the question in, and you can hopefully play along with this one. But Middlesbrough drew 4-4 with Norwich in 2005 at Carrow Road. We were leading 4-1 and conceded 3 in the last 10 minutes to draw. But can you name the Boro scorers that day? The 30-second clock starts now. What a bop that is, man. It just hits different, isn't it? Just putting the timer again. Sorry.
Especially when it starts again.
Apologies.
He was enjoying it so much he played it again. Like 5 minutes of pigback that one time.
Yeah, I mean, just after our listeners like the PS system yesterday. Which actually, to be fair, Boro, you probably listened to this, so it was good, just a bit too loud. And maybe I'm getting a bit too old for this. But anyway, let's name the scorers for that day. Tom Green, I will let you go first this week. Who were the Boro scorers in 2005 in that 4-4 draw against Norwich?
I'm pretty sure I won't have got this right, which is annoying because I remember listening to that game on Century FM. But I've gone for Hasselbank, Boateng and Downing. I'm going to guess Hasselbank scored 2.
Okay. And Dana, who are you going to go for?
I've gotten Hasselbank and Quadru 2.
Okay. So, Dana, you are correct. It was Hasselbank 2 and Quadru 2. I need to take the answers out of this document that I read off.
Hey, I was doing Norwich research, so I looked back at some other games head to head, and obviously that one sticks out. So I should think I would remember that considering I was literally looking at it yesterday.
Fair enough. But if you are watching us on YouTube or you listen to us, and just tweet us as well, see if you got that one correct as well. It's always good to know if you're playing along with us. But let's look ahead now to the midweek game against Norwich. And we always get a fan on to speak about Norwich's season. And we spoke to Matty Soakell, who is from our neck of the woods in Middlesbrough, to find out a little bit more about the Canaries this summer and their start of the season.
Hello mate, thanks for having me on again. I appreciate you reaching out. For those that don't know me, my name is Matty Soakell. I am a Teesside based Norwich City fan, which you might struggle to get your head around. I struggle to get my head around it at times. Tom's asked me to send over a few pointers ahead of Tuesday night's game, which I'm really not looking forward to, especially after Middlesbrough did the double over us last season. So let's start in the summer. We had an interesting window. We brought in a bit of experience, a bit of know-how. Stacey's been a really good signing from Bournemouth. Ashley Barnes has looked a good signing until he got injured recently. We brought in Duffy, big centre-back. The jury's still out with him a little bit. He's brought a good bit of physicality, which we missed in recent years, as has Ashley Barnes. But defensively, he's a little bit suspect, as is... And I know the Boro fans won't like me saying this, but as is Ben Gibson, unfortunately. So, and they're likely to be the two starting centre backs. So I think Middlesbrough can really get at them on Tuesday night and cause some problems. In terms of the season so far, we've been really hot and cold, and we looked good at the start of the season. We had a really good run. We were top of the league at one point. It was bizarre, really, because it was us and Ipswich at the top for maybe only for a few hours, but certainly I think after the Huddersfield game, there was a lot of optimism when we beat Huddersfield 4-0 away. And we were going really, really strong. So then had a few slippery results, really. We got beat at Rotherham away, which you think, well, that's a team that you should be beating. And then there was an international break, and we've kind of really struggled since the first international break in September, really. I think we're now 5-7 in terms of defeats, which is relegation form, really. I'm not saying it's going to get to that. Yeah, we're not really playing very well at the moment. We were 2-0 up against Leeds at half-time yesterday in the Saturday 3 o'clock game, and I'm not too sure how we were 2-0 up, to be honest. Leeds were not clinical enough. They weren't the usual selves in that first half. despite that, they'll have felt aggrieved to have not gone in level, because frankly, for every Norwich fan that watched it, like I did, they'd be lying if they weren't to say that Leeds deserved to go in level, at least because they had 2 or 3 gilt-edged chances that on another day, if they hit the target, they go in. So we're very exposed at the back far too frequently. Like I said earlier, we're there to be got at on Tuesday night, I think. Going forward, we're okay, but we're definitely missing Barnes. We're definitely missing Josh Sargent. Those two got injured within the space of a couple of weeks, and we've not really looked the same team since. The focal point of everything was Barnes would hold it up and Sargent would make good runs in behind, and Adam Eder he's just not that type of striker that's going to get you 10, 20 goals a season, unfortunately. So David Wagner's playing the cards that he's got at the moment, because we've had a few bad injuries and a few bits of bad luck, but at the same time, the changes that he's making and the starting 11s, they're a bit uninspiring. It's a bit, I don't know, the fans are starting to get a little bit uncomfortable with some of the stuff that he's doing, and I really, really do struggle to see us getting 3 points on Tuesday. I think we might get a point, we might get a draw, but the form that Middlesbrough in after beating, I'm going to say it, Wayne Rooney's Birmingham City at the weekend, I would probably have to say that Middlesbrough are favourites, and it makes us uncomfortable, really, when we think about the fact that we've a defeat against Leeds on Saturday, a potential defeat against Middlesbrough on Tuesday, and then we've got Sunderland on Saturday at the weekend coming. So, you know, we could start this international break with 3 defeats on the bounce. There's every chance that happens, and then we've got Blackburn early November, and that won't be an easy game. So it's not looking too optimistic at the moment. I don't think, as a Norwich fan, unfortunately, despite that really good start to the season, and we're playing some decent football, but something is just not right at the moment. Something's not clicking. So for me, I'm going to say that Middlesbrough are a favourite ahead of Tuesday night, and that'll really rub the salt into the wound of a bit of a naff weekend. And I'm just getting off the back of a cold, and I could do with a bit of a pick-me-up, but I don't think Tuesday night's going to be the one to do that, I'm afraid. So my prediction for the game would be Middlesbrough to win 2-1.
Thank you very much for that, Matty. And, you know, I mean, it's always very odd hearing a Teesside accent and being a fan of a different team. And you know, they really did have a good start. Norwich, you know, they were top of the league out a couple of points and started off really well. And I thought, well, they might have turned the corner under David Wagner. And you know, I remember seeing them at the Riverside last season, how expansive they were, and Middlesbrough just cut them apart time and time again. So I'm very, very intrigued to see how they've resolved those issues as we go into the game on Tuesday. But guys, how are we predicting this one? Obviously, it's a massive game for Boro as well. If we win again, this is a really big opportunity for us to kind of climb back in those playoff places for the first time this season, and back where we were for the majority of last as well. So, Tom, what's your prediction for the week? I will come to you as well for your Tom's Bet of the week too, but just what is your predictions for Boro's game?
You know what? As a prediction, I'm going to go 2-0. I'm going to say that the clean sheets continue for Boro. It's interesting because I was looking at the table, and we now have exactly the same record as Norwich in terms of wins, draws, and losses. But it looks like we're going one way and they're going the other way, and that's what's caused that similarity. It was funny because I was talking to Matty this morning after he sent his voice note over, and I was like, "You're far too pessimistic there. Your Devils winning on Tuesday." And then he replied with, "You said that last time," and I did, and we won 5-1. So. Who knows? But yeah, I'm going to go 2-0, and the clean sheets continue. Show goes on.
Show goes on. Yeah. Dana, what's your predictions?
I think I'm going to go with a 3-1 Middlesbrough victory. Just a few things on Norwich from Connor Southwell, who is a reporter at the Pink 'Un. He's showing the form table. Nobody has conceded more goals in the last 6 matches than Norwich, and only 3 teams have taken fewer points. So he says they're in a little bit of a rut at the moment. I think there's a few fans that are maybe questioning David Wagner quite a lot. I mean, especially coming off the back of that defeat to Leeds, in which Daniel Farker is in charge of them. Kind of stings a little bit for Norwich, because I think there's a few fans of theirs that don't feel like he should have been sacked. So bit of a bad feeling there. I don't think they will have improved so much defensively. So I think this is the game where we get a 3-1 victory, I hope. So that's what I'm going to go for.
And obviously, if you follow this podcast for a while, you know that Dana's dad Dave absolutely loves a 3-1 for Boro. But it's time for the Tom's Bet of the week. Tom, What are you predicting? What is your bet for the week?
Well, after Tommy Smith went off with an Achilles injury yesterday, I'm assuming that Rab van den Berg is going to be coming back in at right back. So I'll be going for him on an anytime scorer and probably something to do with corners and stuff to boost the odds up again. And just to reiterate what I've said in previous podcasts, I may get the goal scorer right, but I haven't won any of these bet builders yet, so don't follow me.
This is why we do it. We put in Tom's betting tips, really highlighting his losses. Anyway, right, but that's good, guys. Thank you very much for joining me as always. And to listeners, the viewers, thank you very much for watching us and listen to us as well on your podcast provider. So don't forget to subscribe on your podcast provider and on YouTube. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and a follow and all that kind of fun stuff. But for right now, Boro flying and nearly in the top 6, but we've won Super 6 and hopefully, fingers crossed, it's the 7th in a row on Tuesday. But this has been the Boro Breakdown podcast, and that was our Boro Matchday Chatter in a pod of the Boro Breakdown.